old Sneelock. We take the little Made in the USA joining tool and make that horrible noise. What I'm looking for is that little glint on the end of every tooth. That means that all of them have been taken down to the same height. Now that we've done the joining, we take this down so that it's clamped fairly securely and short. Why short? Because otherwise it squeals, and the squealing is very annoying. I've told you this before, but I'll tell you again just because some people may have not have seen the other videos. This file is unmarked and unnamed, and how do I know that it's good to sharpen files with? Well, there's a few things that you look for. One, it doesn't have a sharp edge. It's slightly rounded. You want to have the bottom of the gullet slightly rounded so that you don't end up with a crack. If you have a sharp edge, it concentrates stress on that sharp edge and causes it to crack. Not while you're filing. It's not like the teeth are going to fall off, but it does propagate a crack down through the blade. If there's going to be stress on the blade, it's going to start at a weak point, and that crack, that little sharp edge, focuses the strain on one little spot, causes a weak point. Two, the file is narrow. Now it's not as narrow as I would like to have for this size tooth, but then I don't have a file that small, so I'm going to work with what I got. What I want is a file that's going to go down all the way through the gullet, but not completely use up all the edge of the blade. When I file, it dulls the edge of this file. If I had a file that was deep enough that it would actually sit right even with the tops of the tooth, what would happen is the file would wear out, and these two faces would wear out, and when I flipped and tried to use this face, I'd have one sharp one and one dull one. Makes the file crawl towards the sharp one. Screws up your tooth. I want to have a file that's big enough it fills the gullet of the tooth about twice. I'm right-handed, so I start on this side of the saw. So I'm going to find the tooth that's leaning towards me. I'm going to hold the file and I'm going to go at about a 15-degree angle. I'm going to take 2 passes. Then I'm going to skip a tooth, do the same thing again. 15-degree angle. Been doing this quite a while, so I actually got a feel for what 15 degrees is supposed to be. But there's nothing wrong with taking a protractor and just check it. Now, why 15 degrees? I'm told that's the optimum. Is it? Seems to work. And if you feel like you're wandering off, put your protractor up there again and check. Nobody's watching me as I'm working, well, other than you guys. And chances are, nobody's gonna know if you make a mistake, other than you. But if you have the opportunity to do it right, why not? Because really, you're working for yourself. I don't sharpen saws for anybody else, just me. And I want to be happy with the result. Take your time. Nothing to be gained by rushing. Now sure, some guys will tell you they can sharpen a saw in 20 minutes and you know, they're professionals and they do all this fancy stuff, but really what you're after, you want to have a saw blade that cuts well and cuts straight. And you don't want to spend a lifetime doing it. But if it takes you an hour and a half or 2 hours, that saw blade is only going to have to be sharpened, for most of us, once. You're going to sharpen it, you're going to use it, you're going to either like it or hate it. If you hate it, you're going to do it again. But if you like it, you're never going to monkey with it unless it needs to be sharpened. And unless you're one of these fanatics that uses the saw for everything and cuts 100 pieces of wood a day. I've got saws that I sharpened once 4 years ago and never touched again. Now admittedly, I got a bunch of saws. But they don't dull that quickly unless you hit a nail. So take your time. It's an investment. When you're done, you've got a saw that you like, a saw that works well, and you feel real good about it. Slapping through it and getting it done in a hell of a hurry, just so you can say you did it in 20 minutes, but doing a bad job gains you nothing. I'm going to change directions. And I'm setting the light so that it shines off the tooth into my eyes. I want to see the glint of the tooth. I'm sure somebody has got a much better method of doing this. This is just for demonstration purposes anyways. I wanted to show you what it looks like. Once the blade gets past the vise, it starts vibrating. Makes it hard to file and also feels funny. I made one pass down the length of the blade, 2 strokes each pass. Now I need to set the blade. I'm going to be making another pass down the length of the blade. But when I'm doing the setting, I have a good chance of dulling the blade just a little bit. So if I do the set and then make my final pass, I catch up. Now this is a Dunlop saw set. And this particular kind is the pliers kind. It's the one that I like the best. It seems to work best for me. Everybody has their own thing. What I'm looking for, see how the teeth are triangular shaped? This one points that way. This one points this way. What I want to do, I want to have a tooth that when I put the set in it, the point, that little spot right in there, bends away from the handle. Doesn't take much. Remember, I'm only trying for a little bit of set on this thing. The more set I put into it, the wider the kerf. The wider the kerf, the harder I have to work to make the cut. Those little black dots on there, that's from the magic marker. And the thing that cuts magic marker is alcohol. And a little bit goes a long ways. This is just the cheap stuff, 70%, that I get at the grocery store. Does a good job doing what I want it to do. And paper towels, even though they're fuzzy, when they catch, they just tear. And when I'm all done with them, I throw them away. So now I have a nice clean saw blade and a tote that's almost dry. The last thing to do is clean up the saw nuts. A little bit of table salt, some lemon juice, and 2 saw nuts. I don't close the bottle because it's going to generate a little gas, but I do leave the cap on loosely just so things don't crawl in there. Shake it up a bit, not too much, just to dissolve the salt. Wipe up my little messes here. And now I leave it sit. I keep the lemon juice in the refrigerator so it's cold. Takes a little longer to get going when it's cold. Had people ask me why I don't use the fancier wooden saw vise. Well, I have this one and I like it and it seems to work well. So why change? Leave that sit and dry a bit. Close up the paste wax. Now while the blow dries and the lemon juice works on the saw nuts, I'm going to go up, get cleaned up, rest a bit. As a comparison, I'm going to cut off a chunk with this Disston D8. even though this is a nice little saw, it's not going to be any match for the big one. For a little toolbox saw that you can practically carry in your pocket, it does a fine job. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments below. I read them all, you know. Thanks for watching.